Buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to be here. I am so excited and proud to be with this incredible group of women that I get to organize and fight for workers every day in the state of Texas. Thank you all so much for being here. Yeah, give it up. So as we open this panel, as Rick mentioned, we're going to have a conversation about how the Trump administration is attacking workers, how it's attacking unions across the country, but most importantly, how workers are fighting back. So I'm going to ask my panelists to please introduce themselves before we start.
Hi, everyone. Is that on? Yeah. Hi, Texas Labor Movement. It's really great to be here. I love coming to these. I just feel like I'm home with my union family. So great to be here. My name's Krissy O'Brien. I'm with the American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees. AFSCME, you're in the house. I have the privilege of representing Texas. I'm in the political action department for our international. And so I get to work with our affiliates around the state on building up their electoral and their legislative programs. And it's really great, rewarding work. So thank you.
Hey, what's up, y'all? Give it up for Krissy. Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Fabiola Barreto. I work at the Texas AFL-CIO as their Texas Immigrant Worker Project Coordinator. So it really is an honor to be here with you all today. I come to the labor movement by way of immigrant rights, and I was welcomed into the labor movement primarily and in the beginning by the Austin Central Labor Council and the building trades in Central Texas. And so just grateful to be here with you all and excited to have this conversation.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rixi Castillo. I'm the director of the International Union of Painters and Allied Trades District Council 10. I'm proud to be here. We represent painters, glazers, drywall finishers, floor coveralls, and so much more. And I am here really grateful to be able to speak about what we have been doing for the workers out there. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sheria Smith. I am a member of the American Federation of Government Employees. And AFGE. You heard from our national president this morning, and I am the president of Local 252, which is a national local that represents every employee in the United States Department of Education. It's nice to be here with you all.
Great. Thank you all so much. So I'm going to set up a little bit the conversation where we're going to be focusing on. So the Trump administration is slashing the minimum wage for federal contractors. It's leading up to 60% in cuts and pay cuts. He is dismantling protections for health, safety, and union rights. Trump repealed rules that rewarded fair wages and benefits, eliminated job training incentives, and gutted key labor enforcement agencies like NEOSH and the Department of Labor's Anti-Discrimination Office. He's undermining union rights by firing pro-worker leaders at the NLRB and nominating anti-labor counsel, stripping more than 1 million federal workers from collective bargaining. So, boo, yes, say it.
So Sheria, let's start with you. As I just said,
President Trump issued an executive order that illegally strips federal workers of their collective bargaining rights. He tried, and they're still trying, to dismantle the Department of Education. And, this is targeting workers that keep our community safe and functioning, from food inspectors to our veterans. And it's just setting a precedent and a threat that we've never seen before. So Sheria, can you just tell us what's happening with federal workers right now? Can you just tell us what's going on?
Yeah, we're in total war. And it's not just a war for federal workers. It is a war on all American workers. So I'm excited to be here with you all, to be, I don't know, the Paul Revere, if you will, to let you know what is coming. And this is a an unfortunate honor I've had to serve with my own federation, because this is not unprecedented. This has happened before. This happened in our local in 2019. In 2019, under the first Trump administration, they got rid of our contract unilaterally. They eliminated payroll deduction, and they took us off of official time, our union leaders, and tried to destroy us. So learning from that lesson in 2019 helped prepare us for what we are experiencing now. We are completely independent from our employer. So when they fired me and all of our other union leaders, our local was able to continue running because we did not depend on this administration. When I say we're at total war, I use that purposefully because federal workers have enjoyed some of the most secure job rights. Certainly not perfect, but definitely more secure. And we had been told our jobs are protected by Congress. And as Anna said, this administration is trying to illegally eliminate our jobs without congressional efforts. We were so protected. We've also been told that we are not to speak out. We should do our jobs. Don't go to press. Don't tell people how important our work is. And that has allowed our enemies, the enemies of American people, to perpetuate lies on media about what we actually do. They lie about how our work is not needed. And so it appears that this administration is trying to move this nation into a system failure by eliminating the very people that work for you. You are eliminating members of the NLRB. That's absolutely an attack on labor, not just federal unions, the entirety of labor. And so it is important when you're in war to use different skill sets and to have an all-out attack on what will be to come. And I hope that those who are not yet experiencing the turmoil that we are experiencing in the federal sector will prepare themselves the way we were able to prepare, our local was able to prepare ourselves in the last 4 years. For those of you who may be a part of the Bible tradition, you may be familiar with the story of Joseph. You have to prepare for famine time and the time of feast. So if this has not come to your doorstep yet, the ending of your collective bargaining agreement, it will. And if the federal workforce and the federal unions do not hold the line, there will be no hope for all of labor. And so what we are experiencing now is a complete disruption of our generally protected jobs, and they have hit a workforce that is not used to this type, outside of the Department of Education, and even within our local, not used to these types of attacks, not used to this type of chaos and incompetence. We certainly thought our management was incompetent before. This is like a whole nother level. It is like someone who knows nothing about your industry at all coming over and telling you that you don't do your job correctly, and they don't even know how we are paid. So when we got fired, just as an example, they fired everyone, but they fired the people that would have been in charge of getting rid of our paychecks. This administration has wasted over $7 million a month because they are still paying us, but we do not have access to actually work for the American public. And that's just not going on in the Department of Education. That is going on at the NLRB. That is going on at CFPB. And so they're waiting. They have not allowed us to work for you. They are wasting taxpayer dollars because they are incompetent. And then they're waiting for system failures. We have children right now who are waiting for, Texas children, your children probably, who are waiting for student loan information. Texas teachers are waiting for student loan forgiveness. They're going to continue waiting because the people who would have done that work, my members, can't even get in the door to work for the American public. This is what is happening in this administration. And if they can get the people who had the most secure jobs, they are coming for all of us next.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's just unprecedented. There's no words really, but this week there was some good news Do you want to talk a little bit about what happened on Tuesday?
Yeah, on Tuesday, so as Anna mentioned, they had several executive orders against federal unions, federal employees for many agencies. Now, they didn't get us this year, not yet. But for many other federal agencies like the VA, like TSA, they eliminated their contracts, said that they do national security, and so they are not allowed to collectively bargain. These are industries and agencies that have had collective bargaining agreements for decades, unilaterally. This is an attack on American people, because if this government can unilaterally take away not just a union contract, we have no hope. So we, luckily on Tuesday, got a preliminary injunction. So we got a bit of a relief, because the preliminary injunction is not permanent. It is temporary. But the courts have said, give their contracts back. Allow their unions to still be able to represent them, allow them to still be able to collectively bargain. This is a similar thing that what happened to my agency, the Department of Education, in 2019. So we let it be known when this administration was coming, before this little administration came into power, we let it be known that we were ready for them, right? We had done this before, we've experienced this before, we're not gonna get burned again. So we shored off all of our protections of our contract offline. We hired publicists to already put in the media that our contract was valid and legal and had been signed properly, because when they came on January 21st, first thing they tried to do was talk about the Department of Education collective bargaining agreement. I guess they backed down, because when the executive order hit, they did not mention the Department of Education, which is why our local has been able to continue to run, even after all of our leaders got fired. But in this court order on Tuesday, surprisingly, they mentioned the Department of Education. So we got a preemptive, if you will, protection.
Just in case.
Yes, just in case this administration comes for us the way they came for us in 2019. And when we talk about the power of litigation, and we talk about protecting ourselves against Trump, I want to also mention the power of the press and the power of lobbying. And I think on all of your tables, there's a QR code, because they're coming for us again. We have legislation already introduced to make it more difficult for people and more costly for people to join unions. They want people who have served, who used to have good government jobs, they don't want those jobs to be very good anymore. They want us to be at will. And if you choose to join a union, they want you to pay for it, an extra 10% off your check, which basically is a non-starter. Very few people are gonna do that, especially in the federal government, when we don't make what private sector makes to begin with. So we did get some good news, and we're getting good news from the courts for months. May 22nd, in my local, we got great news. The courts ordered this administration to reinstate all of us. But I'm here with you, yeah.
Yes.
But I'm here with you today on a Thursday at 1 p.m. when I should be working, because we have not been reinstated yet. So they have not sent any of my people back to work. We are still locked out of offices. Our computers still do not work. We are not able to work for you. We are not able to work for your school districts. We're not able to give grants to your states, to your universities, grants that these universities need to make sure that their professors still have jobs. None of that has happened, but yet they're still paying us full salary and benefits, which is great for my members, but terrible for the American public and for the cost efficiency that they were supposed to be running on.
Thank you, Sheria. And AFGE members and organizers have been doing incredible work converting people to e-dues. They've been doing incredible organizing, holding rallies across the state, across the country. So we stand with you all, and we will continue to do that. So just thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you for all of your work with helping us get organized.
Thanks. So similarly, and it's only been 5 months of this administration. 6 months? Yeah, 6 months.
Like a year.
I don't know what day I live in. We have seen what this precedent, what this administration is doing to our immigrant communities. We are seeing workplaces, raids at workplaces. We are seeing people being kidnapped by people wearing masks, right? People sent to El Salvador. I will say that I am very proud to be part of a labor movement that fights for all workers, regardless of their immigration status. I am very proud of that. And I'm also very proud to do this work with Fabiola and with Rixi. But Fabi, can you talk to us a little bit about what's happened to in Texas and also across the country, the attacks that are happening against immigrant communities under this administration?
Yeah, of course. So I'll start off with talking a little bit about what's going on in the nation, and then we'll go a little bit more specific into Texas, just because the attacks are a lot of them, right? And so around the nation, we're seeing, and I'm sure that many of you all have seen from your own unions, that folks that had work visa status beforehand are losing it at an exponential rate. And so we're seeing the ending of different sorts of parole statuses like CHNV, which primarily helped out folks from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. And so a lot of you all might have hired workers that come from these nationalities, were able to have work permits due to this this program, and it is exponentially, folks are losing status. We see the same thing with temporary protective status, which helps out folks from El Salvador and many other places. And so we're losing a lot of the workforce, especially here in Texas. In addition to that, we're seeing direct attacks to union members. Like Ana was saying, there's attacks in workplaces that are happening more and more every day. We're seeing folks, and all of this is happening because of quota systems that Stephen Miller is putting into effect, right? Yeah, boo, whoever said that, that's right. And I was gonna say, you know, we're seeing a lot of high-profile cases coming out of the labor movement. I mean, we can start with Gilmar Obrego Garcia, the smart apprentice from Maryland that was shipped off to El Salvador without due process to one of their mega prisons. We can talk about... Sorry about that. We've got Mahmoud Khalil and Rumeysa Osturk, who were imprisoned because of using their First Amendment rights. Both union members. We've got David Huerta, who a lot of his activism in LA was put on full display during the protests that were happening in LA and across the nation. And so we're seeing a direct attack that's happening on the labor movement in the US. But in addition to that, I mean, you know, one of the brothers from IUPAT used to say during the times that are most dark and whenever we really feel like we're not gonna come out of it are also the times when we have the biggest gems for organizing. And so, you know, we're seeing that, we'll take Kilmar's case, for example. In Kilmar's case, we saw the labor movement really show out for him. And to this day, I'm proud to say that he is back in the United States because of the advocacy that was done within the labor movement and with allies all around the nation. And so wanting to thank you all for all of that work as well. Then we look at Texas, and I think all of us that live in Texas know that this is not a friendly state for immigrants and hasn't been for a really long time. Most recently, we've had agreements happening within the Texas Capitol legislation that was passed just recently. And I'm gonna take a moment to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 8 that was passed on the last day of, the day before the last day of session. So Senate Bill 8, for those of you who might not know about it, is a bill that would require sheriff's departments to collaborate with immigration and customs enforcement, okay? This is no longer something that folks can opt into. It is a requirement for all counties in the state of Texas, and that's gonna be starting to go into effect on January 1st, okay? We did a lot of advocacy at the Texas AFL-CIO alongside great immigration organizations such as Workers' Defense, Texas Civil Rights Project, Grassroots Leadership, the Immigration Legal Resource Council outside. We did a lot of legislative strategy to make sure, to try to lessen this, right? Because I think at the end of the day, we know that this is a red meat topic for a lot of folks. And so we wanted to make sure that the response from sheriff's departments would be to get the least invasive of these agreements, right? And I think we were in a pretty good spot until, if you follow Truth Social or the president's X's or tweets, that he posted something the night before conference committee came in and essentially said, we want to make sure that sheriffs can choose whichever 287G agreement they want. If they want to do the task force model, which for those of you who saw Sheriff Joe Arpaio in his time in Arizona and saw the racism that was happening in Arizona during that time, we can have that here in Texas. That's fair game, okay? And so that's what we're going up against here in the state. But we know, and gonna go back to it, even in the darkest times, these are the greatest gems for organizing. I think we in Texas have been a part of this movement, have seen that labor and immigration go hand in hand, right? And so a lot of us already have connections with immigration rights organizations within our central labor councils, within our own locals. And so this is a perfect time for collaboration, right? To continue to strengthen these allyships, these groups that we have, so we can really show out for our members, right? Because we at the Texas AFL try our best to be a resource, and I just want to let you all know that I am always going to be a resource to you all. I do know your rights. I am able to provide you all with as much information as I have. But if you want folks that are local and on the ground, definitely reaching out to your local immigrants' rights organizations is going to be key to making sure that we're protecting our members and that we're pushing this movement forward.
Thank you, Fabi. Yeah, I think that the labor movement is showing up for immigrant workers. We have seen in other places in the country where unions are incorporating into their collective bargaining agreements ways to protect immigrant workers. We are seeing employers working to make sure that there are employee designated areas, so if ICE shows up, they can't get in there. So there's a lot happening, and Rixi, I would love for you to share with us a little bit about what IUPAT is doing to protect its members.
Yeah, absolutely. The IUPAT has initially started to implement some of the Know Your Rights comprehensive information for all our members. In addition to that, we have been able to collaborate with community organizations in the area to spread not only the educational information that it's needed, but as well support services. This is in order for us to help our members to know how to navigate the responsibilities that they have in the workplace. Not just their rights, it's just their responsibilities as well. In addition to that, we have collaborated and established some partnerships in the whole IUPAT, such as Empower, which is a nonprofit organization who has helped us to assist us with up-to-date information about immigration. And also they have provided our members with free screenings. For all of those members that we have that are mixed statuses, we just want to make sure that if there's anything up to their case that we can help out to help them further and themselves. And of course, we have think about a lot of all of our members. But one of the things that I would say is that our priority is to advocate and also defend all the rights for all our members, regardless of their immigration background. So that's our priority.
Thank you, Rixi. And Rixi, in addition from, for defending and making sure that your members are protected, you're also part of our advisory board and making sure that at the Texas AFL-CIO and making sure that the work that we're doing is it's really dictated by our affiliates, right? And making sure that it's protecting our members. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
All right, Krissy. Let's talk about this budget that is probably going to happen when? Friday, maybe. Maybe. So the Trump proposed budget includes deep cuts across essential public programs, $12 billion from education, $5 billion from agriculture, $4.6 billion of the Department of Labor, over $6 billion from health, impacting Medicaid and SNAP. And I can go on and on and on. I have a huge list here. But, so Krissy, share with us who stands to be most impacted if this legislation passes.
So this House reconciliation bill that passed in May is the biggest cuts to healthcare access we've ever seen in U.S. history. Medicaid, SNAP, ACA. We're talking about millions of Texans being kicked off their healthcare. Most directly impacted, we're talking about low-income families. We're talking about children, individuals with disabilities, the elderly. So you have the threat of people losing their health care. You also have the fact that states rely on this funding. So about a third of Texas's budget comes from federal funding. So when we're making hundreds of billions of dollars of cuts to these programs, critical services that our members provide, that our communities depend on, there is ripple effects throughout the state. So we're all going to feel this. This House reconciliation bill, by the way, passed by one vote. We are hearing that the Senate could vote on this as early as Friday. And I think about the fact that our cities and our counties, as AFSCME, we have a lot of locals representing our cities and our counties, are already operating under tax revenue caps. They're already very restricted. And so we have to think about the impact there to infrastructure needs, public health needs, public safety needs, and then the other part of this, and I know our nurses are in the House today, is the fact that 15 rural Texas hospitals have already announced that they won't be able to stay open should these bills pass. They're already struggling to keep their doors open. They are required by law to serve their patients. And if they lose their funding, if they lose these resources, they won't be able to do that. And so we'll see higher ER utilization. And where does that cost get shifted to? It's going to get shifted to our plans, because I know we're union members. We have our own health care, but our premiums are going to be impacted by this. The costs are going to shift somewhere, right? And I'm thinking they're going to shift to us. And this is really, all of this is to pay for tax breaks for the billionaires, for the ultra rich. That's what this is. So there's a lot at stake to benefit the wealthy, and we have launched our campaigns. AFSCME has launched an AFSCME Go program internally, where we're meeting with members of Congress. We're doing the power of press and lobbying, and taking members to meet with members of Congress in key congressional districts. Like I said, it passed by one vote. We can still make a difference here in these final days to make sure people making these decisions in Washington understand how devastating these cuts will be to our communities, and we're sharing those real life stories. And I know we're going to get a little bit more into the campaign, but yeah, this is very trying times. But I will say it's been amazing to see the labor movement rise up. Our members stand up and fight back, even if they may not be directly impacted by this, the thought of losing Medicaid. It's just terrible to think about how that will impact people that we serve, that our members serve.
Thanks, Krissy. And this bill also includes, it increases funding for Homeland Security to support their mass deportations. You mentioned Sheria, the 10% increase if you want to join the union. Employees will have to be at will, and it's just one of the most harmful piece of legislation we've seen so far. So I think it takes all of us, right, to make sure that we are pushing back and we're standing up against these cuts and what this will mean for our communities and as the labor movement. And as you just mentioned, we have to do that. So we talked a little bit about what's happening across, from federal workers to immigrant workers to our movement as a whole. But what can we do? What can our members, what can folks in this room do to make sure what's a call to action. As organizers, we need a call to action. So what are we telling members? How are we educating members on this and the impact that this is going to happen, that this will have for us? So I'll start with you, Krissy.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you for putting this together. Shout out to the Texas AFL-CIO staff. This is an amazing convention, and there's a lot of work that goes into it. So AFSCME has partnered with SEIU, NEA, AFT on Put Families First campaign. So that's like over 8 million union members coming together to share their stories, to hold press events in districts that we need members of Congress to stand with us. And we are planning on, we will be sharing some calls to action tomorrow. And I'm not sure exactly how we're doing that, but we are going to be doing that because, like I said, this vote could be as early as Saturday or on Friday. So we'll have folks take action in that way just by contacting, our U.S. senators. Just the more they hear from us, I'm telling you, the better. We have been meeting with people that you wouldn't think would meet with us. And there are a lot of concerns from the Republican Party too, or from members of the Republican Party about the impact on our budgets, and just the fact that their constituents rely on these services. And so there's that way to get involved. And then another thing I would say is there's a lot of groups fighting, going after this bill, fighting this bill. I know the nurses are here, SEIU. I think we could do better with coordination, with collaboration, and making sure that we're coming together. And I mentioned the Put Families First campaign and kind of maximizing our efforts there. But I'm sure there's other ways that we could be coming together on this and bringing, planning events, press events in some of these congressional districts, bringing these real life stories to the camera and making sure that everybody is aware of what's going on. Because that's, that there's a disconnect, and the information is power. It's really important that we know exactly what these cuts will do, who's making these decisions, and just making sure that we're part of the process and getting our voices heard in this. So that's what I got.
Thank you. Are folks ready to engage in this? Yeah. Are we going to do it together? Yeah. Fabi, what's your call to action?
Thanks, Anna. I got a few. So I think a big thing that we can do, of course, is start looking into ways that we can put provisions within the contracts to protect immigrant workers, right? SEIU has some awesome language around it. I believe it was shared to me, and I'm happy to talk with you all about your specific industry and see what is it that we can do to protect immigrant workers within our contracts, right? I think that's one of the most important ways that we can do this. Part 2, know your rights. I think know your rights trainings for both workers and employers is going to be extremely important. I think the union has a very special place in that they have relationships with workers, with employers, and they're able to do know your rights about what is it that you do as an employee, how is it that you can be exercising your 4th and 5th Amendment rights, and then as the employer, what is it that you need to know about when law enforcement comes to your door? Do you need to answer? Do you not need to answer? What does a warrant look like? Et cetera, et cetera. So those are awesome ways to be able to educate your members and folks that hold you all as knowledge holders. And then the final thing that I'll say, and I'm going to be very, very proud of this, is that join the Texas AFL-CIO Advisory Board. We have been doing this for about a year at this point, and I am extremely excited about the direction that we're going and how many voices we're including into the conversation. Like Anna said, Rixi is the IUPAT District 10 representative, and I know that a lot of the advisory board members are here today, and so I just want to say thank you all for your work, but we want more people, more voices, because each union has different needs. And so please feel free to reach out to me or even Leonard and have a discussion about joining our advisory board.
Thank you, Fabi.
I just don't think that I have an action this specific, because what I see it's that we keep moving on the fence, and we absolutely should move to offense. We should keep building those broad alliances that we have. We should keep going on that. We, the IUPAT, are always happy to help. We're always happy to put our voice, put our stand. So I think the most important part is just to keep moving the way that we have always have. So yeah, that's probably my call to action.
We organize, we organize, we organize, and we
Yes.
stand in solidarity with each other. Sheria?
All right, I got a lot of calls to action. Sorry, I'm trying not to hold you. But first of all, prepare yourself. For my siblings who are in public sector unions like I am, it is important to be completely independent from your employer. I don't know what else this administration can do to show you that they are not your friend and they are here to destroy you. So do not, anything that you need, you should not be relying on your employer to receive it. If you are relying on your employer to collect your dues, you are behind the 8 ball. You need to be independent dues, independent filing, independent meeting space. I know this might be irrelevant to our private sector unions because y'all probably are already doing that. Keep doing that. Don't ever get complacent because they are not your friends. We are in total war. And somebody only has to show themselves to me once. This administration showed itself to me and my local in 2019. We will never allow ourselves to be vulnerable again. If you are not protecting yourself by being completely independent, making sure that your local will remain strong, building out your leadership base so that it is not just you and 4 other people. And the way to do that too is truly by organizing. I think a lot of local leaders want to be the answer to all of their members, have the answer to all their members' issues. But lots of times our members come to me with stuff and I'm like, I talk on the news about how smart you all are and don't prove me to be a liar. I know you can figure this out on your own. Remind your members that they are American citizens, that they have rights, they have agencies. Now we are employing lobbyists, absolutely, but their elected representatives work for them as well, and they need to be on the phone, especially my members, because we've been paid now to just not work. So there is no reason why we should not be at every congressional member's office, calling them on a daily basis and emailing them to protect our jobs. Also a way to prepare, and this is for everybody. The last one's for everyone too, is organizing from the bottom up, making sure that it's not just the leaders that are doing this work, but also your members understand that there's work for them to do beyond paying their dues. But being humble, knowing what your limits and your strengths are. I had no connection to media, so we hired a media team because, and I take any statement about union workers being lazy as fighting words. We will not allow those things to actually, to be said without us having a counterattack. So part of that is getting a publicist, making sure that you're getting in the media, that your members are also empowered to share their stories as union members with the media so people can get a face to who your members are. So when people try to lie about who they are, that there is a counter to that. For many years, federal employees have allowed people to lie about how we are lazy, how we are entitled, how they do not need us. And now we're having to fight those counterattacks. And to be honest, we're behind the 8 ball. So for those who have not been hit, use this as a cautionary tale. Prepare yourselves now, because that attack is absolutely coming. You hear it even from private sector. I'm a product of the USW, United Steelworkers. And when the United Auto Workers went on strike, I heard people in my community, and I'm from a very poor community, talking about how entitled they were. Like they did not deserve every cent that they fought for. Like a strike was something that is easy to do. Those are fighting words. That is an attack on our very existence. Any type of, rhetoric that might make you think less of someone else. I know sometimes we have issues between public sector unions and private sector unions. Know that that's just rhetoric. We have more in common than we have difference. And if public sector unions fail, so will private sector unions. We are absolutely connected. And this gets me to my next point, really building on the solidarity. I'm so grateful for conventions like this where we have the opportunity to talk to each other outside of our industries, outside of our federations. And when I mentioned the May 22nd preliminary injunction that we held, that reinstated my people, I wanted to make sure that I was clear that we did not get that on our own. We got that with solidarity with the American Federation of Teachers. And it is that collaboration that we started talking about, our local started talking about in 2019 when we first got hit. There is no way any of us, any of our federations, no matter how big they are right now, any of our industries, any of us will survive these attacks by ourselves. You have to start thinking about who you can collaborate with, and here's a hint. You can collaborate with everybody. But because of the American Federation of Teachers and attorney generals from different states, they were the ones that filed the lawsuit to get our jobs back. Why they did it and not us is because, like I mentioned, we are still getting paid. We are still technically employed, though we can't do any work for you. And so when you are technically employed, you don't have standing. And so we worked with people who are losing out on services because we are not at work, and that is the American Federation of Teachers, and that was solidarity at work, and that solidarity got my people back on the job. And so I thank you. And that is really the only way we're going to survive Trump's America these next 3 years. And so there is nothing that anyone has said on this stage or anyone will say in this convention that is not relevant to you. And really be humble and take what you can and see how you can apply. And you have to collaborate because none of us can do it on our own.
Absolutely. An injury to one is an injury to all, right?
Absolutely.
So, I said it's been only 6 months. There's a long road to go. So before we close out the panel, I just want to hear from you all what is the message to our members, to our movement, to keep going? What are we saying? What do we want to say?
Solidarity forever, right? We're in this together. We have got to get through. It has been a tough year so far. But like I said, what do we do best? We fight back. We organize. There's nobody better than that than the labor movement. And when we organize, we fight back, we win. And we have those opportunities to fight back. Like you said, this is we're seeing the organizing grow tremendously by this need right now. And I want to say that should the Senate vote on this Friday, the House still has to agree. It's going to have to go back. We're going to have opportunities in August to when they come home to their districts to really shame them, to really hold these events and make sure that they know that we're watching and their constituents know exactly what they're doing and that we can see through the lies that they're telling us. And so we have real opportunities, I think. And even though it is really tough times, I think what keeps me going is just seeing us all standing together and fighting back.
You took my nana. An injury to one is an injury to all. And I guess last thing I'll say is there's going to be a lot of rhetoric that we've heard it. We're going to continue to hear it for the next 3.5 years. And I think we all just need to remember that an immigrant isn't what's keeping us, that isn't between us and our jobs, right? It's billionaires. We need to keep an eye on who our enemies are. And we need to remember that it's not immigrants.
All of you took all my words. I'm just kidding. No, definitely. I will say that keeping our membership engaged, developing that solidarity within our membership, it's key. And like you said, that rhetoric, we have to flip that narrative. We have to flip that narrative. It's strong. But yeah, I think that all of the things that we always say, right? Solidarity, organize. Let's keep organizing. And yeah, that's what I have to say.
When we organize,
we win.
Sheria?
I would say don't lose hope. Certainly in the federal sector, since January 20th, there has been an all-out attempt to intimidate us to retire, to resign, to leave our jobs and enter a job market that is terrible, absolutely horrible, and then to compete for jobs amongst your members in the private sector So, what we've been doing in our local is reminding people not to lose hope by reminding them of our wins. We communicate frequently about what we have won for them, even though pretty much all of us received layoff notices March 11th. We've communicated with them that we are still being paid and we are still receiving benefits. People who have resigned or who took the bait and retired are now trying to rescind that because they see that we are still here. This administration is doing everything that they can to eliminate us, and we cannot let them win by voluntarily losing hope. So that's my takeaway.
Thank you. Well, every one of you gives me hope. I am incredibly proud to be in La Lucha with all of you, to be in this fight with all of you. And please help me thank our incredible panelists for being here, for all of their work, for your fight. Just thank you so much. And thank you to everyone in this room, too, for everything you do.